I watched Lance Holloway feed my contract into a paper shredder, inch by inch, while the board watched like it was dinner theater. 18 years, 41 patents, 280 million in revenue from my work alone. And this jackass thought destroying a piece of paper would erase me. What he didn't know was that paper didn't matter anymore. The real contract, the one with the clause buried on page 12, lived on 3 servers, 2 continents, and 1 blockchain timestamp that was about to cost him everything. My name's Carter Bennett. I'm 52, and this is how I took back an empire built on my mind. It started 18 years ago in what used to be storage space above a check cashing place. 4 of us crammed in there with mismatched chairs and an AC unit that sounded like it was dying every time someone used the microwave. 1 whiteboard, 2 space heaters, 0 backup plans. That place smelled like burnt coffee and electrical problems waiting to happen. I built my first prototype there with parts from eBay and a soldering iron that shocked me every 3rd use. But it worked. That ugly little box became patent number 1. Then came 2 and 3. By year 5, I had 16. By year 10, 31. Last count before everything went sideways, 41 patents, all filed under the company name with my signature as original inventor. That detail matters. They gave me a title eventually. Lead inventor. No corner office, no executive parking spot, just a plaque and enough freedom to keep doing what I did best, building things that made money. And they made a lot of money. Licensing deals started small, 1 automation firm here, 1 manufacturing plant there. Then the big players came around. Defense contracts, Fortune 500 companies, Silicon Valley types who acted disinterested but sent interns to every demo I ran. Patent 27 cut assembly costs by 19%. Patent 31 improved safety compliance so much that OSHA sent us a thank you letter. Number 34, that's the crown jewel. Real-time load balancing algorithm that let you switch from making car parts to medical devices without stopping the line. Saved clients 40 minutes per changeover. Multiply that by 3 shifts, 5 days a week, 52 weeks. That's why it brought in 280 million. I wasn't flashy about it, didn't do interviews, barely remembered to shave some mornings, but I was the backbone, and everyone knew it. Not in a billboard kind of way, but in the quiet glances during earnings calls, in how the CFO always looped me into compliance reviews. My ex-wife used to joke that I was married to the lab. Turns out she was right. Divorce papers came in year 9, same week patent 27 got approved. I signed both without reading them. My kids are grown now. They don't call much. Hard to blame them when I missed most of their childhoods chasing the next prototype. I gave this company everything. They gave me a shredder. By year 10, we weren't a startup anymore. 3 floors downtown, an espresso machine that cost more than my first car, HR policies longer than the tax code. But I stayed heads down. Never wanted to be a suit. Just give me a lab, a budget, and time to make something worth filing. I should have seen the shift coming. It always starts the same. Someone mentioned scaling faster. The logo changes, new leadership vision. Old faces disappear. Board meetings get longer. Legal reviews get slower. And somewhere in all that noise, people forget who built the engine that's still running. But back then, before the knives came out, I was proud. Proud that something I created in a rented storage unit was keeping thousands employed. I had no reason to doubt them. I wasn't chasing a title. I just wanted to build things that mattered and be left alone. That was my first mistake. I knew something was wrong when Lance Holloway stepped off that private elevator like he owned the building. Everyone stood when he walked in. I didn't, not out of protest, just busy preventing a test rig from overheating. He introduced himself with that rehearsed charm that makes your skin feel sticky hours later. "Call me Lance," he said, like 18 years of patents and busted knuckles could be reset with a first-name policy. Lance was an acquisition hire, brought in by the new parent company to streamline innovation. Translation: make things cheaper and shinier so some hedge fund could pump the valuation. His background was sales, which meant he knew how to sound like he understood things. Problem was, he didn't. Lance was 41 but talked like he was 25. Everything was about disruption and agility. He'd use words like synergy in actual sentences without irony. I built things, he built PowerPoints, I spent 18 years in labs, he spent 5 years on LinkedIn. The board loved him because he made their spreadsheets look sexy. They tolerated me because I made the spreadsheets possible. Still, I gave him a chance. First week, he toured the labs, nodded at everything, asked strange questions. "Can we make this more viral?" he said about a torque stabilizer. I laughed, thought he was joking. He wasn't. Week 2, meetings started appearing on the calendar without my name. Strategy syncs, product rollouts, budget reviews. I'd email to ask and get brushed off. Not essential this time, but we'll loop you in. They never did. Then my lab budget got cut in half. No explanation, just a spreadsheet line, reallocation for marketing initiatives. I went to my direct report, except the new org chart had turned me into some floating special projects advisor without telling me. She looked embarrassed, said it came from Lance, said it was temporary. I asked if anyone told Lance that our next prototype needed that budget to finish trials. She just stared at her coffee. By month's end, they'd reassigned 2 of my engineers to a new innovation pod led by some fresh hire who said design thinking in every sentence. Nobody told me. I just walked into the lab one day and found their desks empty, names scrubbed off the whiteboard like they'd never existed. That's when I started documenting everything. Every skipped meeting, every budget cut, every asset moved without my approval. I wasn't angry yet, just alert. Lance brought his son to the office in week 4. Tyler, 22, fresh MBA from some mid-tier school, talked about thought leadership like it was a real thing. Lance introduced him as a strategy consultant. The kid spent 3 hours in our lab, took notes on everything, asked 0 useful questions. 2 weeks later, I saw my modular design principles in a Tyler-branded presentation titled Next Gen Manufacturing Paradigms. Like father, like son. Thieves in matching suits. Then came the quarterly review. I'd submitted a detailed progress report on Patent 35, a process enhancement that could cut production downtime by 11%. Instead of using my slides, Lance clicked through some polished PowerPoint full of stock photos and corporate speak. My patent, rebranded as Next Phase Optimization, with Lance's smiling face on the title slide like he'd dreamed it up between Zoom calls. I sat in the back, jaw tight, knuckles white around my coffee. Didn't say a word, just watched him lie through his perfect teeth. The worst part wasn't the credit theft. It was how easily the board nodded along. They didn't care who made the engine, just that the car kept moving, and Lance was excellent at looking busy while coasting on other people's work. Some of the team noticed, whispered apologies in hallways. One engineer left me a note. "This place doesn't deserve you." I kept it in my wallet. By month 3, I was barely invited to my own demos. I'd walk past glass conference rooms and see Lance pitching my tech to investors, laughing like it was all a game. Maybe it was to him, but to me, this company wasn't a ladder. It was everything I'd built. Every patent, every prototype, every sleepless night. And now I was being erased, one meeting at a time. I could have fought back, kicked, and screamed. But I didn't. Not yet. Because Lance needed to keep thinking he was winning. Let him believe I was just some burned-out ghost too tired to matter. Let him think I'd go quietly. Which brings me back to that boardroom, watching Lance feed my contract into a shredder. The room was staged like theater. Polished table, fresh bottled water with labels turned just so, little name cards like we were hosting a corporate seance. The board sat scattered in their ergonomic chairs, half on tablets, the other half pretending they weren't checking stock prices. Lance stood at the head like a ringmaster in a $2,000 suit, grinning like he was about to pull off something clever. "Before we dive into Q3 projections," he said, flipping through a manila folder with theatrical precision, "there's a small bit of legacy, housekeeping." He reached under the table and pulled out my original paper contract, the one I'd signed back when we didn't have a legal department and used a template from some business law blog. I recognized the coffee stain on the bottom corner, my signature slightly crooked from signing it during a Red Bull crash. I had that document scanned and backed up 6 ways. Still, seeing it in his hands made my jaw tighten. "This is what loyalty gets you," he announced, holding it up. Then he shredded it, literally fed it into a paper shredder he'd plugged in behind him, inch by inch, looking me dead in the eye the entire time. "You've had a good run, Carter," he said, voice sticky with bullshit. "But let's be honest. R&D needs fresh energy, new blood, people who understand today's pace, not someone coasting off yesterday's ideas." The paper disappeared into the blades. The room went quiet except for my heartbeat hammering in my ears. "We appreciate your legacy contributions," he added, using air quotes like he was eulogizing a fax machine, "but moving forward, your services are no longer required." There it was, Fired. No warning, no HR, no transition plan. Just death by shredder, delivered with a smirk in a room full of cowards. Some board members chuckled nervously, unsure if this was a joke or just aggressive restructuring. One guy I'd once shared a conference room sandwich with during a 14-hour compliance call looked at me, then immediately looked away. Tyler sat in the corner grinning like his dad just taught him something profound. I locked eyes with him for 3 seconds. Take notes, kid. This is called career suicide. His grin faltered. I didn't move otherwise. Didn't speak again. Just nodded once, slow and deliberate. What Lance didn't know, what nobody in that boardroom realized, was that the paper he just destroyed was a museum piece. A backup. Dead skin I'd shed years ago. The real contract, the one with the clause, lived elsewhere. Buried on page 12, subparagraph C, under intellectual property rights and breach protocols, was the key to every single one of my patents. I stood slowly, adjusted my jacket, and said one final word. Noted. Then I walked out. No shouting, no threats. Just one last glance at that shredder, still humming quietly behind Lance like it hadn't just made the biggest mistake of his career. It started in year 3, back when the company was too small to afford proper legal counsel and too arrogant to admit it. We'd just landed our first real contract, nothing huge, just a mid-tier robotics firm licensing my second patent. But it came with a stipulation: proof of clear ownership, clean chain of custody, no gray areas. That forced us to look under the hood. What we found wasn't great. The original IP clauses were vague, gaps big enough to drive a lawsuit through. That's when I realized I needed insurance. I hired my own lawyer, out of pocket. His name was Walter Briggs, looked like a retired boxer, in a discount suit. Bald, quiet, always smelled like mint gum and printer toner. But the man was a killer in depositions. We met at a diner once a week, same booth by the window, hash browns and black coffee. We rewrote my contract line by line, word by word. One clause, buried near the back, labeled IP reversion in event of breach, became the sword I'd spend the next decade sharpening. Walter explained it simply. If they fire you clean, they keep the patents. But if they breach the contract, any part of it, everything you created reverts back to you. All patents, all licenses, all derivatives. We didn't just write it down. We filed it through a third-party digital notary, one of the first to use blockchain timestamping. Immutable, uneditable. Lived on 3 servers, 2 continents, and 1 offline backup in a fireproof safe at Walter's house. We never talked about it again. Didn't need to. It was insurance, heavy and invisible until someone crashed the car. Over the years, the company grew and shifted. New contracts, new lawyers, new leadership. They pushed updated employee agreements, digital onboarding systems that buried terms under 15 screens of click to agree. I never clicked, never signed. My original contract remained untouched. Legal always blinked first. Even during the acquisition, when Lance started tightening screws, I said nothing. Just watched him dance while I sat 2 moves ahead with a clause that could strip him of everything he thought he controlled. Every patent I filed was registered with me as original inventor. The company held rights under license, conditional license, that condition being no breach of contract. And Lance had just turned a symbolic firing into a legal landmine by publicly shredding my contract and announcing I was no longer required without due process. Breach of contract. Documented. Witnessed. I called Walter that night, told him what happened. He didn't say anything at first, just sipped his coffee. Then he chuckled, dry and low, like watching dominoes wobble before the collapse. "All right," he said, "let's open the vault." Next morning, he filed the breach notice with a certified timestamp. Attached were the original digitally signed contract, the notarized reversion clause, and a compliance audit making it crystal clear they'd not only breached, they'd nuked the bridge. We didn't send it to Lance. We sent it to legal, their internal team, just to watch the panic bloom. Then we CC'd their outside counsel, big firm out of New York, $1,200 an hour types. Took less than 24 hours for them to reply. Tone wasn't aggressive or dismissive, it was nervous. They asked for clarification, a meeting, time to review. Walter replied with a PDF, paragraph 7, subsection C. In the event of termination deemed in breach of contract, all registered patents credited to the original inventor shall revert to said inventor with full rights of use, licensing, and transfer. And underneath, blockchain signature, date stamped, geo-locked, fingerprint verified. The silence that followed wasn't accidental. It was stunned. They hadn't just fired me. They'd blown out the foundation of the company's entire IP portfolio. Me? I didn't gloat. Didn't post anything on LinkedIn. Just went for a walk. The air smelled different that day, like rain on concrete and overdue consequences. They thought they could bluff it out. 3 days after Walter filed the breach notice, the company released a press statement. Corporate fluff about leadership evolution and seamless operational continuity. Not a word about patents, not a whisper about breach, just damage control sprayed with corporate optimism. I read it while stirring creamer into my coffee, same vanilla caramel as always. My phone buzzed. Walter again. They're stalling, slow rolling, hoping you flinch first. I didn't flinch. Inside the company, chaos had already started. The production floor ran on software modules tied directly to my latest systems. Process 18 controlled the robot arm timing. Without my authorization key, the safety system thought the arms might collide, so it shut down the whole line. 11 hours at 24,000 per hour. Somebody's bonus just disappeared. That got attention. Then came licensing audits. Our biggest partner in Germany flagged a clause in their contract requiring ongoing certification from the original patent holder, me, to continue manufacturing with tech derived from patent 26. No cert, no compliance. No compliance, no shipment. Their legal team fired off an email requesting confirmation. That email came to me. Not the company, me. I didn't answer. Not yet. Lance, meanwhile, kept strutting through all-hands meetings like a home shopping host, hyping new verticals nobody understood. Behind the scenes, I heard whispers, engineers texting late at night. Is it true you're gone? They said everything's fine, but... Always but. Legal tried responding to our notice with vague language. We dispute the interpretation. We believe termination was conducted in accordance with policy. No mention of the shredded contract, no mention of the boardroom stunt. Just words with enough passive voice to dodge a deposition. Walter sent a second message. This time, we attached not just the original contract, but metadata from blockchain notarization, a full list of all 41 patents in question, and a reminder that public misrepresentation of intellectual property could trigger regulatory review and civil penalties. We added a footnote suggesting we'd already had preliminary conversations with 2 federal compliance auditors. That's when the emails stopped. Outwardly, they kept pretending nothing changed, but internally, you could feel the storm building, and just like blood in water, it drew sharks. First, a manufacturing rival I hadn't spoken to in 6 years invited me to lunch. Then a private equity firm called Walter directly, asking if the patents were currently encumbered. A well-funded tech startup offered me a consulting role with 7 zeros attached if I brought my inventions along. The scent of weakness had gone airborne. I let calls roll to voicemail. Let offers stack up like poker chips while the company flailed. Every day they didn't respond, I gained leverage. Every hour of downtime, every client email asking who actually owns this tech widened the crack in their foundation. They thought I'd come crawling back for a settlement. I was building a war chest. The first serious offer came through LinkedIn. Some recruiter at a West Coast think tank with 8 zeros attached. 2 hours later, Walter forwarded an email from a private equity group in Boston. No small talk, just a PDF titled Preliminary Terms for Exclusive IP Acquisition. The figure at the bottom, $22 million upfront. That was Monday. By Wednesday, it was a feeding frenzy. Licensing firms, robotics manufacturers, 3 tech CEOs I'd never met but who'd apparently been following my work for years. One even sent a gift basket with whiskey older than my patents. I didn't drink it. Not yet. Every day, Walter and I met at the same diner. Same booth, hash browns, and black coffee. Except now the table was covered in spreadsheets and term sheets and NDAs. I wasn't just some fired engineer anymore. I was holding a weapon, and everyone wanted a piece. One offer came from a company that tried buying us out 6 years back. Lance had called them vultures then. Now they were back, grinning with open checkbooks. They wanted everything. Full acquisition of all 41 patents, plus a 2-year exclusive consultancy, office in Seattle, stock options, signing bonus that would cover a lakefront house twice over. I didn't say yes, not right away, because I wasn't rushing anymore. For 18 years, I'd worked inside a machine built on urgency. Ship the next prototype, hit the next deadline, optimize the next process, always chasing someone else's clock. Now they were chasing mine. Walter loved it, called it slow dancing with sharks. Every counteroffer we made came with longer silence on their end, then revised figures. One firm doubled their licensing rate overnight. I hadn't even agreed to anything yet, and I was already being treated like royalty. Eventually, one of their VPs called me, said they wanted to get clarity on the nature of the dispute. I told him to direct all inquiries to Walter, then asked how his kid's soccer team was doing just to remind him I still remembered the people behind the machines. He sounded tired. Really tired. Then came the invitation. Back to the boardroom to discuss terms. I didn't wear a suit. Figured if they were going to see the ghost of their mistakes, I might as well look like myself. Dark jeans, work boots, button down that still smelled faintly of solder and coffee. The only thing different was the leather folio under my arm. The receptionist froze when I walked in. I gave her a polite nod and kept walking. The boardroom felt smaller. Corporate spaces shrink once you stop needing their approval. Same table, same chairs, same faces. Lance was already there. Arms folded, tie looser than usual, sleeves rolled up like he'd been fighting fires. Looked like someone who hadn't slept in 3 days. "Carter," he said with a strained smile. "Appreciate you coming in. Let's clear the air." I didn't sit. Just placed the folio on the table, opened it, slid 2 documents forward. One labeled Patent Licensing Agreement, the other, Statement of Intent to Transfer IP Portfolio. 2 paths, I said. You license the tech at my rates under my terms, or I accept one of the half-dozen offers on the table. Some from your competitors, some from those vultures you warned me about years ago. I let the last word hang. One board member leaned forward. We'd need time to review. You've had time, I said. You had time the day Lance shredded my contract like it was a joke. You had time when your lawyers got the reversion notice. You had time every single day you delayed, hoping I'd blink. I looked directly at Lance. I don't blink. Diane Crawford, the CFO, cleared her throat. How much are we talking about? I tapped the licensing agreement. $9.5 million up front. Annual license fee, 22% of net profits derived from all products using the patents, plus a 3% escalation clause. Term is 5 years, renewable. Any lapse in payment or attempt to reassign the tech without written consent nullifies the agreement. Lance scoffed. You're extorting us. No, I said. You're leasing what you don't own. The alternative is you explain to your shareholders why your core tech stack is now controlled by the man you fired in front of this very table. He went pale. Jaw tightened. Eyes scanning the room for allies who weren't there anymore. You built this company on my work, I continued. You thought cutting me loose meant cutting the cost. But now you either pay full price or you watch me sell to the very people you've spent the last decade trying to outmaneuver. Nobody spoke. Game over. Eventually, the quiet guy from legal reached forward and pulled the licensing agreement toward himself. We'll need to reconvene privately. I nodded. Of course. Closed the folio, turned, and walked out. Took them 47 minutes. When the doors opened, they sent a paralegal, young, nervous, wouldn't make eye contact. She handed me a signed copy of the licensing agreement, all pages initialed, ink still drying, no ceremony, no apology, just compliance, and a wire confirmation slip attached. $9.5 million, same-day transfer. I stared at it for a long moment, just a quiet exhale that had been building for 18 years. Walter didn't even smile when I called him, just said, about damn time. By sunset, the money was in my account. I turned my phone off, packed a small bag, and drove north. The house was already waiting. Glass front, cedar beams, deck stretched over the lake, no neighbors, no noise, just wind through trees and water on dock posts. I threw a folding chair on the deck, poured a drink, and sat down barefoot as the last light bled into the horizon. That moment, that was the reward. Not the money. This. Silence. Ownership. Freedom. No more stolen meetings, no more people taking credit for my work. Just me, patents filed under my name again, and a company that now paid me for the right to keep existing. Lance kept his job, for now. But every product roadmap, every new launch, every investor call from here on out will have a quiet footnote, licensed from the man we fired. I don't need revenge. I am the reminder. For the first time in 18 years, I didn't feel like a piece of the machine. I felt like the whole damn factory, and they'll be paying rent for the rest of their lives. My phone buzzed once. Unknown number. Mr. Bennett, this is regarding the Boston offer. We'd like to increase our terms to $15 million for full acquisition, no strings. I looked out at the water, took a slow sip. Let me think about it, I said, and hung up. Set the phone face down on the armrest. Somewhere across that water, Lance was probably in an emergency board meeting, explaining how a clause on page 12 was bleeding them $40 million over 5 years. I raised my glass to the thought, then I turned the phone off completely. For the first time in 18 years, I wasn't waiting for anyone to approve anything. No deadlines, no performance reviews, no meetings about meetings, just water, stars, and a contract that made me rich every time they used my work. I could get used to this.